Okay, let's call the Richmond City Council meeting of Monday, March 8th, 2021 to order. Madam Clerk, on the minutes.
Thank you, Your Worship. If there can be a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting held on February 22nd and receive for information the Metro Vancouver Board and Brief dated February 26th.
All right, so that's moved and seconded. Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, just a quick question, Your Worship. I had a question this morning, actually, from a constituent on our CNCO 24, the Massey crossing and the project status. It says in there that the Metro Vancouver Massey Crossing Task Force has been reconvened. Are you on it, or Councillor Steve's on it, to have Richmond's perspective at that table?
Yes, I'm definitely on it, and that task force, like this council and the rest of the region and the province, are waiting for the answer as to whether it's going to be 8-lane bridge or tunnel.
And as the task force taken a position, and I'm sure you will expound Richmond's position, but are they with us on that one, or is it divided?
It's more than the task force. It's the entire Metro Vancouver board has taken the position that they are in favor of the 8-lane tunnel. There's been a couple votes against that, but First Nations don't like it. There's some environmental issues there, but basically pretty much everyone else is on the same page on that one. And so we're waiting, and we're told that the whatever the business case says, it's gone to Ottawa to have them help out with the funding of it. So we're just waiting to see.
Okay, good work. Thank you.
Okay, more to come. Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, through your worship. I'm not sure if staff would be able to respond to this one. I didn't catch them earlier on these items. But just briefly, three short points on the Metro Vancouver Board and Brief. I'm hoping that our staff can learn from what's going to happen in the Metro Vancouver and Delta property related to the Burns Bog Ecological Conservation Area. So it's an area that's affected by wildfire, and as we know in Richmond, 2 years ago we had the D&D, and in the Richmond Nature Park there's been historical fires there. So if we can learn how to assist in the recovery, we might be able to implement it onto the Garden City lands restoration area. So hopefully staff can keep watch and see what they do with their $200,000 in that recovery. The next one on page 25, Council 25, the top two things there. I hope staff can bring forward to us related to the microplastic study. So I assume Lulu Island wastewater treatment facility will be part of that study, and maybe they can report back to see how we can reduce microplastic generation from Richmond sources. And then finally, the last bullet point at the top of that, page 25, talks about industrial land and the impact on water services. Perhaps in this regard, we can provide some support. So our environmental stewardship initiative on Mitchell Island, I believe that's one of the things we've been doing, is looking at point source pollution from our industrial land, and we probably have some ideas on how it's impacted our water services, and maybe we can help to inform Metro Vancouver and also get some input back from their process, because our Metro Island program is only I think an 18-month program at the current stage. So I'm not sure if staff can comment now, if they can reach out when they have more information. But thank you.
Well, I can tell you that our staff, a number of the senior staff are involved in all facets of Metro Vancouver, and particularly in terms of the engineering and the water situation. So your points are well taken. There will be input from Richmond, and we will be learning from them at the regional, what's it called, RAC, the engineering group, in any case, REAC, I suppose. So more to come. Councillor Day.
Thank you very much, Mayor Brody. I just wanted to go back to the previous discussion about Route 5.1, the George Massey crossing under the Board and Brief Metro Vancouver thing. Would it be of any benefit for Richmond City Council to write a letter to either Metro Vancouver or to the province to reiterate once again our position about preparing the tunnel over the bridge?
I'm sorry to say the last half of what you said got kind of garbled, but I can tell you that I've been involved in 2 conversations with Minister Fleming, who is responsible for infrastructure, that's his ministry, in the last month or so. Metro Vancouver is firmly on board. We are simply playing a waiting game until the results of that business case and the application to Treasury Board is released. So, you know, we can write all we want, but it's been reiterated so many times that the province has no doubt. And of course, a former member of this council is now a Minister of State working with the environmental ministry. And I would expect that she will be talking loud and clearly about what Richmond Council and what the rest of Metro Vancouver, including Delta, are looking for.
All right, thank you very much.
Councillor Steves.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a further answer to Councillor Wolf's question about the bog areas. On Friday, one of the 10 road maps of the Metro Vancouver that will be presented to the board in the next few months was dealing with growth management. And under our growth management program we adopted on Friday, Metro Vancouver hopefully will be expanding the urban containment boundary to include what we call natural carbon sinks, which means bogs. Now, most of them were in the agricultural land reserve anyway, but the idea was to make it clear that bogs are not poor farmland. They're very necessary for the survival of the planet. So that was adopted on Friday. And that goes to probably to I'm not sure it goes to the next board meeting or there's going to be further inputs between now and then.
My guess is...
You can read about it my next column in the Sentinel.
My guess is it's going to go to the next board meeting, but we'll see. Councillor McPhail.
Thank you, Your Worship. And with regard to the Metro Vancouver Board and Brief on our Council 25, the very bottom bullet, 5.1 results for 2020 Wipe It, Green Bin It campaign. I know we've all seen the social media, but I was just interested. It talks about, in addition to region-wide promotion, the campaign targeted hotspot areas in the city of Richmond and the township of Langley. So just wondering if we have any data on if it was successful, if we saw less grease, less things going through our system.
Let's ask staff, maybe John Irving or somebody. Those are the fatbergs that are the result of the grease buildup. Who on staff can help us out there? Is John Irving here or somebody?
To Your Worship, I'm sorry, I just missed the last part of the question. If Councillor McPhail could repeat.
Oh, sure. Just wondering if we got any, like, real data results from this campaign. If we saw less, like, was it successful?
Yes, I think generally, you know, I think it takes a reasonable amount of time to see in our system as we monitor it. We do 5-year cycles of inspection in the entire system, so we don't see immediate results. But over the next year or two, we should be able to determine if there's a broader change in the system.
That's great, because it certainly seems to be a very successful social media campaign anyways. We get a lot of uptake on it, and I know, you know, we're always going out to certain restaurants and things like that. So great, perhaps we'll get some information in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll call the question then. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Madam Clerk, any agenda additions or deletions?
None, Your Worship.
Okay, so we've got a consent agenda consisting of the committee minutes, the 2021 Community Mural Program projects, the Stevenson Community Park Playground Renewal Next Steps. Then we have guiding principles for the youth strategy and the senior strategy, Vancouver Coastal Health, the termination of services agreement, the land use application for first reading, we've just got one, which is 10620 Williams Road, rezoning from RS1E to RC2. And then we have the market rental housing agreement bylaw 10242 to secure market rental housing units at 5500 number 3 road. May I have a motion to adopt those by general consent?
So moved.
So that's moved and seconded. So we've got a speaker to Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will be supporting everything on the consent agenda, but I would like to briefly touch on a few of the items and some feedback and responses I've gotten from staff related to some of my questions at the committee level or on email in between. There might be one question at the end, but probably not much more than that. So the first one was about item number 7, the Community Mural Program projects. I went to visit one of the sites again recently, Lehigh Hansen on Mitchell Island. And even though I expressed a concern that unlike the other projects, Lehigh Hansen was not supplying money up front, a lump sum component to the project, I do see the value, though, that they've committed to doing 5 years worth of maintenance in front of the murals, and hopefully that would go much beyond 5 years. But I think that's a good compromise or agreement that the staff have worked out. Also asked questions about the amount of budget for the environmental stewardship initiative on Mitchell Island, and I had heard from other people as well that money should be going towards some habitat enhancement or some of the more immediate threats. When you go onto Mitchell Island, you can see lots of them along the roadways and the ditches, private and city property. And I was assured that there's still lots of funding that remains, and there's still months more left of that initiative project. So I will support this on the agenda, consent agenda. Item number 8, like others in the community, expressed the need for washroom facilities, and so the Stevenson Community Park Playground, hearing from Alan Clark, the VP of the Stevenson Community, assured us that that's going to continue to be advocated for, and we heard good response from staff that will be in the next stage of that project. Youth, number 9, the youth strategy, guiding principles. Again, support the work there in that report. I just see the lack of access to youth right now. We don't have an ongoing advisory committee. We just have the engagement program, which concludes this week on Wednesday. So hopefully that gets renewed and we continue to have youth go through that process with us. And I remember there were some other youth who've been coming to city council meeting, and I've been trying to reach out to see if they could provide a comment, but I think many of them have outgrown the youth label maybe. Next up, item number, I'm just going to skip 11 for a moment. Number 13, I did check out that site. This is the one on Williams Road where there's a variance that would have a setback change on one of the 2 house properties. And I support it in this case because it's to preserve a very large, significant coniferous tree that sits in the front of the yard right now, the single house. And I think in cases like this, where the developer can suggest alterations, and then also having a technique where this ground is much lower, and as we've heard from other developers or on city property even, the gradient change is often the reason why trees get removed. But this marks an excellent example that hopefully gets brought forward by other developers in the future, where you can protect trees that are sitting a lot lower. You just have to be creative and innovative, and this is a great strategy that they're going to implement if this gets approved going forward. And then I'll just back up to one last item, item number 11. I think that this is a great time for the changeover of service from Vancouver Coastal Health to city staff. One of the reasons is the banning of rodenticides, and that we're in kind of a new regime for how we can deal with infestations, and I think this will complement more of a long term to hopefully go beyond the 1-year trial that we're setting out on right now. The questions I had to staff and committee and after, I'm quite satisfied that continuing the service level is what this report and bylaw changes will do. I had some concern on space needs for staff and electric vehicle options, but I'm sure that staff are going those directions, going in the direction of EV vehicles where possible. Finally, on that one, we are going to hear back further related to the humane rodent control options. So I know a number of people in Richmond are concerned about the health of animals. That's why we have one of the largest cat sanctuaries around. So hopefully we can have a contractor that meets the clientele that we're dealing with in Richmond. And then finally on that item, there was a point in there where it talked about on our page, in the table 3 on page 94, that there was an option to remove smoking bylaw enforcement and tuck it under health. I don't believe we're actually choosing an option on that right now. It was just a suggestion perhaps for later. And when I was reading this over again, I was reminded of Norman Wigglesworth, who would probably come to the meeting today to advocate that we keep that as a separate line item, and as the great work that he's done in the past when he was with us. And we're very, very thankful for him for all the smoking regulation work and education that he provided. And finally, on that matter, and again, I don't need a comment from staff right now, but I did hear in the past that water quality or light pollution bylaws that some might deem to fit in well with this. Today's item is related to continuing existing services, not adding new ones right now. So that could happen at a future date, and hopefully will. I'll just say that I'm going to contact staff further about the issue related to under general health matters, which is the kind of the final bullet of this, because it does mention in there about marina holding tanks. And I go back to the need for a Sani dump service or something like that, because many of our marinas, they don't have on-site septic. So they really do require some education, because some of these boats don't go far enough offshore to dump out in the open ocean, which is kind of a protocol that many do. And the ones that stay in our marinas, in our river system, need to comply by going to, there's only, I think, 2 waste pump outs in Richmond, one at Shelter Marina and one at the Vancouver Marina, which is in Richmond. So anyway, more to come on that. So with all that, thank you very much for letting me address all those items on the consent agenda. Thanks.
Just before we get to the next speaker, it's been brought to my attention that in reading out the consent agenda highlights, number 12 was not included in that recitation, and that's the extending the non-acceptance of cash transactions at City Hall, number 12. So I'll take it that that is included unless anybody voices a concern about that. Okay, next speaker is Councillor McPhail.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will be supporting all of the consent agenda and just wanted to speak to a couple of them. Number 7, the 2021 Community Mural Program project. So I'm really happy with this year's proposals, which include Lehigh Hansen on Mitchell Island and several schools, McMass Secondary, Thompson Elementary, Homa Elementary, Westwind Elementary, and of course our Gateway Theater. This is a very well received program, and we've seen over the years how there is real opportunity during the creation of the murals to bring together the local artists with students, community groups, residents, and local businesses. I know when I was the liaison to the Thompson Community Society and they had the project there, and this was just last year, it was really amazing. And, these murals really are a welcome addition to blank walls, over blank walls, and really invite interaction with the community and appreciation of arts and culture. Number 8, the Steveston Community Park Playground Renewal Next Steps. The Steveston Community Park is very popular, and people travel from all over Richmond to go there. And this plan was on hold for a couple of years, so it's good to see that with the location of the new Station Community Center and Library branch decided, the playground renewal process can advance to detailed design and costing. And I really like, and I've already had a couple of comments, thanks to the newspapers for printing out the design of the new playground. I've already had people say, wow, they really like it, and how it draws inspiration from the village's history. There's a farm village, a fisherman's wharf, and a salmon run adventure-themed play area, so I think that's great. And looking forward to next steps. Number 9, the youth strategy guiding principles. Thank you to staff for the report, and I agree that the guiding principles proposed in this report will set a strong foundation. I do have a question through you, Your Worship, to staff. So as we go forward, we know it's really important that there is meaningful engagement with youth so that youth know that their voices are heard and respected, and that it's reflected in the strategy that comes out, at the end of this. And given the times that we're in, where, person-to-person meetings are not happening, how do we plan to reach out and engage youth? Are there going to be surveys or online forums? But, because it really has to be meaningful.
Through Your Worship to Councillor McPhail, we are in the process of developing that engagement strategy now, and some of the elements that we anticipate being included will be online surveys through the Let's Talk Richmond platform for youth, as well as opportunities for youth to participate in virtual focus groups. There are a number of leadership and advisory groups that already meet in Richmond and have continued to meet throughout the pandemic. So we will be reaching out to some of those existing groups that have already got a stable and consistent meeting platform to engage them as well.
Great, and I hope that it will go to the Council School Board Liaison so that it can be, channeled through there, and perhaps they can, work with us to get it promoted out in the community. Thank you. And then item number 10, the senior strategy. So kind of along the same kind of lines. We know that COVID has really hit the seniors community really hard, and there are probably many more isolated seniors than ever before. And again, as we go forward, how do we plan to reach out to them and involve them in the process?
Through Your Worship to Councillor McPhail, we will be scheduling all the engagement activities with the seniors based on what we've learned in the past year with COVID, as well as input from the stakeholder committee. So we're doing a bit of a more targeted approach through the clients, through the stakeholder committee, as well as existing partnerships we have with community groups. We will be also targeting buildings with high concentration of seniors, working with Vancouver Coastal Health, as well as the clients and seniors that our staff are currently in contact with. We've had a couple of wellness calls going out to the seniors, as well as reaching them through virtual activities.
All right. Well, great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Day.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me this time, Mayor Brody?
Yeah, oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good. All right. Thank you so much. Well, first of all, I'm really excited for a very first time in a long time. We have a 100% consent agenda item. So everything on the agenda tonight is by consent. So that means we've done a great job in the committee level to debate and amend all these items so that they are on consent tonight. So I'm thrilled about that. Number 7 on the agenda is the mural program. Now, look at some of the locations where murals are proposed, and wow, what a beautification that will be for the city of Richmond. So I'm excited about that. Number 8 is the Station Community Park Playground. I was concerned about, well, what about we're adding on to the Station Community Center? How is the playground not going to be affected? But if you refer to page 79 of this report, it shows the location is far away from where the Station Community Center will be located, so it won't impact it. Number 9, the youth strategy guidelines. I think Councillor Michelle made up a really good point. We really want to have meaningful consultations, and I think it's really important to do that. I'm pleased to see in the report that we're going to have public input first, and then this will come back to Council in the first quarter of 2022. So we're not rushing. We're going to get it right. And thank you to staff for all the hard work that they're putting in. On the same vein, senior strategy guidelines, and I wanted to ask Ms. Hersa about engagement process because, you know, many seniors are not on Twitter or Facebook or internet. So, and you talked earlier about the wellness calls. How are we going to reach out to various groups by telephone or by letter?
Through your worship to Councillor Day, we will be using a combination of focus groups with those clients belonging to the stakeholder committee, as well as phone. So we will be having that option of one-to-one interviews through telephone, definitely with the seniors, yes.
Well, thank you for that, Ms. Hertha. I appreciate that because we know that more and more seniors are now involved in iPads and Zoom than ever were before because of the COVID crisis. But at the same time, there are many valuable voices out there, so I'm glad we're going to take the time to engage them in the process. So thank you for that. The Vancouver Coast Health Authority termination of service agreement. I mean, that sounds really bad on the surface, but actually they were unable to find the staff to do the jobs that we needed done. And so this absorption of the jobs into the city of Richmond staff it's a smart thing to do. And it's also going to fit into the existing budget for now, and then we're going to reevaluate in a year. So I'm pleased that's going the way that it has. We want to have proper support for the community for these various services. The next is the number 12, extending the non-acceptance of past transactions at City Hall. One of the big reasons we decided to do this was because we were concerned about anti-laundering, and we need to make sure that, you know, things are paid in a simple way. So I'm glad that we're maintaining that program. Number 14 is the market rental housing agreement. You know, it's funny how you can sit at a planning committee meeting and start bouncing back ideas. And at one point, I asked staff, could we put a covenant on these properties so that they're always allowed to do rentals? Because I know family members and friends, they live in buildings where rentals are not allowed. So subsequently, that reduces the rental market. Well, I was thrilled at the planning committee. The legal staff came forward and said, yeah, we can totally put that covenant on. This might not seem like a big thing today, but 15, 20 years from now, this could be absolutely groundbreaking. So I'm pleased that we made the decision to put in that on page 131 as available for rent in perpetuity clause. So thank you, Council, for supporting that. Thank you. That's it for me.
Just before I go to Councillor Howe, Councillor Day, your audio was hit and miss, rather. You don't have anything on top of your speakers or anything, do you? Well, you got to continue. Please continue working with the clerks and IT because we got to get consistency. I mean, 3/4 of what you said was just fine. You could hear it very clearly. But there was a quarter that it was somewhat muffled. We could get the idea, but it was a little difficult. So, Councillor Howe.
Yes, Your Worship, while I support everything on the consent agenda, I have questions and comments on 2 items. The first one is item 9, Youth Strategy Guiding Principles. I agree with the guiding principles being suggested on CNCL page 28 and 82 and 83. They are great. But I just want to add that we might have to shift our mentality. I think for far too long, we have seen youth as the receivers of service. So we put them at the receiving end of services. But I think we should also consider that they are co-planners and also they can be co-providers of services. And I think a very good example is the table 38 at the school district. They put the students as leaders in planning for things the students should have. And I have a question now. This is the end of the previous youth service plan from 2015 to 2020. I know that we will have an update, 2020 update later this year. However, I just want to ask a question. So did we learn anything, or do you have any some kind of observations or insights that we learned from the previous stage, from 2015 to 2020 in the implementation of the plan? so that we can have some insights or some inspirations for the upcoming new plan. So anything we learn or observe from the previous implementation of the plan?
Through your worship to Councillor Au, that is a component of the work that is currently underway for the development of the new strategy. As you mentioned, the 2020 updates for the 2015 to 2020 youth strategy or service plan will be coming forward in the next quarter to Council. And so as we begin to develop the new strategy, there will be a thorough analysis of the achievements and the learnings from that previous 5-year strategy to help inform the development of the new plan.
Good, thank you. Yeah, I think there must be some trends or some outcomes that we could learn from the previous plan and to be applied or give directions to our planning for the future. And my comments and question is on the other one is on item 11 about Vancouver Coastal Health termination of service agreement. I think it's very unfortunate that Vancouver Coastal Health has to terminate the service agreement with us because of the COVID-19 impact and also the change of directions. Now, I'm concerned about the transition. So while they are doing terminating the services and we are picking up the services, I'm concerned about the transition period, whether or not we can have seamless transition and whether or not we can provide continuous service to the public. And of which I have two major areas of concern. One is the noise control, and the other thing is smoking bylaws. So I just want to ask staff, how can they, what they're planning to do to guarantee or to safeguard that in the area of noise control, there will be seamless transition. Because on page CNCL 94, staff mentioned that this is a new area and staff have to receive training. So meanwhile, how can we safeguard that the service would not be discontinued?
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Au, I think that this we already have very capable bylaw enforcement staff, and they are already enforcing portions of the bylaw. So I don't expect there to be much of a transition. We already have an infrastructure to take in calls, distribute calls, and track the success of the calls. I think that we have to learn a bit of a new expertise, but I'm confident that we have the staffing and other infrastructure in place to be able to take that over.
Very good, thank you. Because I think noise control is one area that we receive most complaints. The other area is the smoking bylaws enforcement. Now, again, staff mentioned that one option on CNCL 94, one option is that we would remove the other regulations and rely solely on health to enforce provincial mandate. So what does that mean?
Through the chair to Councillor Au, we were presenting options to Council and pointing out that in some cases the City of Richmond bylaw layers on top of provincial bylaws. So it would be an option for City Council to repeal the bylaw or portions of the bylaw and instead rely on health to take action when it's a health matter rather than to the level that is expected in the City of Richmond bylaw.
Now, if that happens, would it pose some negative impact on public health, like, whether or not health can have the manpower or whether or not it would be a priority for them to enforce those smoking bylaws or smoking laws?
Right. Through the chair to Councillor Au, certainly public health wouldn't enforce city bylaws. They would enforce the provincial mandates. They have assured us that they are able to enforce provincial mandates when it rises to that level.
Now, I also observed that you mentioned in your report that in other cities, the smoking bylaws are being enforced by a combination of bylaw enforcement and our CMP staff. So can we not adopt that model instead of, doing away with our own bylaws? So can we adopt that model that's being used by other cities?
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Au, we do rely on the RCMP for this type of bylaw enforcement. When it's an enforcement against an individual or if it's after hours, RCMP is already positioned to help us out with that.
Okay, good. Yeah, honestly, you know, I hate to see any regress in our enforcement, and I would hate to see that we will repeal our own bylaws and just rely solely on on health to enforce the provincial regulations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see now, Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Just a couple things, and I'll try to be brief on that. I'll be supporting everything on it, but just following up on this coastal health. I have a concern. I have no problem with the transition, but I have a concern about other groups picking up what we used to do a number of years ago better than anybody else in the Lower Mainland. We had an environmental department, and it took on these things, and it dealt with mosquito control, rodent management, etc. And I guess my concern is if residents have issues, where do they get the information to deal with these issues? What is the response time? Who is going to enforce it, and how effective is that? And I think, and I brought that up at committee, and I'm concerned about that. So I think we'll let it go for now, but we may be revisiting some of these things down the road once the full transition has taken place. And I'd like to see, to be honest with you, our smoking bylaw relooked at and have no smoking whatsoever in public places near door opening, 6 meters away from the door, and also 100 meters away from the park. So that's just a commentary from myself. When we talk about health, we need to be enforced. And Your Worship, I believe we need further signage and much more signage that's very striking in our various parks along that line. I'm very happy to see the public art. It goes along with, as I think it was Councillor McPhail mentioned, the murals at Thompson, murals at the curling rink, at the Stevenson Hotel, at Canfisco. When we go to those particular public areas, we see great murals. And now that we've got 6 murals going in, I'm very, very pleased to see that developers' dollars are able to pay for a majority of this, and we're going to get public art as the contributions are to public art. I was actually quite excited to see the number of artists who applied and to do this. It's very gratifying, and my compliments to those dealing with our public art coordinator. A job well done to get that many people coming to put proposals in. And yes, we went down, I believe it was 25 applications, and to get that. So I think it's augurs well for the future to continue in that program, Your Worship. Just to comment about the Stevenson Community Playground, I believe it fits quite nicely into the Stevenson plan, but we, even though it complements it, we do have to have washroom access. That's got to be moved ahead of schedule, and to get it for the public there. You know, we have a water park out there. We've got other things, so I think it's very, very important on that. Just to comment on the senior strategy. Seniors were phoning today. You know, 1.7 million phone calls into on COVID. But my concern in terms of the seniors, and it was brought up about the seniors, many are alone. Many of our seniors are widowed, and many of our seniors do not have access to technology. When we go, and you know, Your Worship, when we show up to a seniors dinner, you know, we have 100 seniors over the age of 92 when we have it, and there are 6 men in the room, and you and I make 7 and 8, or whoever goes with us. And I think we have to have a meaningful dialogue and following up on these guiding principles and contact. And I'm talking about human contact, not just necessarily by phone. And what I mean by being in the same room or by human contact. I think it's very, very important because isolation is one of the worst things we can have with seniors. And I think we need to put that into our policies to make sure we bring meaningful closeness and contact and follow up with our seniors in that. My last comment is on the youth strategy. A good start. This is probably the seventh or eighth strategy that we've had over the years. I have a concern, and this is a good base, but I really feel that we've got to look at a number of former educators and educators on council involving the youth in traditional roles and what have you, as we see it, is good. But their environment and their perspective is a lot different than what we knew as youth. And I think we need to look at the non-traditional and not necessarily the youth that's involved in, if you wish, and we need to include them, the student council, those on the track team, those doing things, but the average student, the student that goes to school to study, those are the students we also have to make sure that we have to provide for. We need to get their ideas. At one time, we had Wayne Yee, who was our youth coordinator, and he was much older than the people he was working with when we started with him. And I think we have to have ongoing and continuous engagement that is meaningful for them and basically hands-on, so that they continue to have goals and objectives to continue to work within the guiding principles. And it was mentioned, I think Councilor McPhail mentioned school board again. I think we've got to involve the schools and to let them know what we're doing and that this program's available in the school environment and how to take an opportunity to utilize the things that we're able to provide for our youth. And I think we've got to continue to put resources in that area. So I think it's a good step in the right direction and a good set of principles all around tonight. And thank you to staff for bringing those forward. And now let's get them implemented and get them out in the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that, we're going to call the question on the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that is carried. Seems strange not to have things off the consent agenda, but that's the way it is. We'll get to the public announcements and events. We've got a number of them today. Firstly, people will know that this is International Women's Day. It marks the global celebration of the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. This day is a time to uphold the achievement of women in society, recognize challenges, focus greater attention on women's rights and gender equality, and encourage and mobilize everyone to do their part to bring about positive change. It's also an opportunity to strengthen our awareness and commitment to inclusiveness and gender equality in our community. This year's theme is Choose to Challenge. And from challenge comes change, so we encourage everyone to always choose to challenge. Then we have the COVID-19 vaccination clinics. Boy, have we waited for them. Vancouver Coastal Health has announced the location and process for the access to the COVID-19 vaccinations in our city. So starting today, seniors aged 90 years or older in Richmond can call to book an appointment for their vaccine shot. Next week, on March 15th, residents 85 years or older can call in to book an appointment. The next week, it's going to be those age 80 or older. Indigenous people age 65 or older can book an appointment at any time. There are going to be 3 different clinics in Richmond: East Richmond Community Hall at 12360 Canby Road, the Jackson Lamb Adult Day Center at 5411 Moncton Street, and the River Rock Casino at 8811 River Road. So there, if you go onto the website, vch.ca, you'll get more information. You can either go online to sign up, or you can use their telephone number. It's a great long number. Then we have the fitness centers for Watermania, Cambie, and Hamilton are to reopen. Watermania and the fitness centers at Cambie and Hamilton Community Centers will reopen for registered visits on Monday, March 15th. These expanded fitness opportunities continue to allow the public to stay connected, active, and safe. So go to the Richmond's website, richmond.ca, and you can sign up for any of those programs. Then we have spring break and the day camps. Spring break begins March 13th. We have a lineup of special activities and day camps available for all ages. Excuse me. There are also lots of fun, safe, and social day camps to choose from, along with regular in-person and online activities for all ages, including crafts, music, at-home fitness classes, and dance. Come and spend time with us over the 2-week school break, swimming, skating, enjoying nature, working out, taking in an exhibition, or more. So to browse and register for programs and camps for all ages and abilities, go to our website. And of course, all facilities and programs will meet the strict health and safety guidelines as set out by local and provincial health authorities. Now, over the weekend, River Parkway opened. An important new piece of city infrastructure opened on Saturday as the barriers were removed and the new River Parkway welcomed vehicles, cyclists, and pedestrians. The new parkway comprises a 2-lane road with bike lanes on each side, and it will enhance traffic flow at the existing River Road-Gilbert Road intersection by eliminating the interim River Road connection next to the Dinsmore Bridge. It also offers a protected bike lane with delineator posts to enhance safety, along with the new traffic signals and crosswalks, paved pedestrian walkways, and LED streetlights for added visibility and security. Information, as well as a short video of the project, is available if you just simply go to our website. And then we have the final item, which is Stevenson Community Center and Branch Library engagement. This is another reminder that people have until March 21st to share their thoughts on the proposed new Stevenson Community Center and the Branch Library design. Go to letstalkrichmond.ca to review the proposed concept design and provide your comments and feedback. You can also join a virtual open house on Thursday, March 11th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., where the architects will provide an online walkthrough of the design followed by a question and answer session. Now, everyone is welcome and pre-registration is not required, so go to richmond.ca/facility projects for all the details. So, with that, there's no new business, there's no development permit panel, there's no bylaws for adoption, so I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move adjournment.
So, okay, so that's moved and seconded. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Thank you. We are now adjourned.